The narcissist goes crazy when you go no contact after they discard you. It seems really counterintuitive and almost unfair that the narcissist has to be able to call all the shots. Like, they want to be able to discard you, but then once they've discarded you and they've determined they don't want you in their life anymore, they also want to call the shots of the terms upon which you two are apart from each other, which is they want to make sure that you keep chasing them. They want to make sure that you don't move on. They want to make sure that you don't find happiness either in your life projects and endeavors or in other people. And they want to make sure that they can keep tabs on you. But how is that fair if you think about it? Like, why does a narcissist have that entitlement, that right to not only push you away in the worst possible means, but also control you once they've discarded you? Well, narcissists, they do have this excessive entitlement where they feel they own people. They feel entitled to controlling people, even once the person is no longer actively a part of their lives. And when the narcissist reaches the point where they discard you, they only would have done that because they would have figured that, well, they don't really need you anymore because you would have reached the point where you were no longer supplying them the way they wanted. And that usually comes off the tail end of a long devaluation, because once the narcissist devalues you for a long time, you soon start to lose all ability to supply them because you're just becoming a shell of your former self. And that's usually where the discard comes, where they've used you up and you don't have much to offer them. But then they want to be pleased in the knowing that you're not moving on from them, you're not doing well, because that also supplies them. It's that negative supply that they depend on. But it's when you go no contact, it's when you just realize that, you know what, you're not going to buy into the script the narcissist needs you to play. You're not going to make them feel good about themselves. You're not going to stroke their ego on a daily basis for weeks, months, maybe years after they've discarded you. You're not going to give them evidence of how much you need them. And you're going to move on and work on yourself until you no longer really think about them that much anymore. And importantly, you're not going to give them any insights into your life because you're just going to do your own thing. When you do that, when you move on in that way, when you bounce out of them discarding you, when you bounce out of that in a healthy way for you, it becomes it becomes devastating for the narcissist because they're not getting the supply from you, and knowing that you're suffering and knowing that you're not moving on and knowing that they can still control you. And that's so counterintuitive. And a lot of people get caught up in this, you know, this kind of mindset where they just, they don't understand how somebody can be like that. The confusion can be a lot to take in. But perhaps one of the worst things is a lot of people, they find that, you know, shortly after the breakup, they still want the narcissist back. But after a little bit of time goes by and they start to move on and they're kind of not really thinking about the narcissist so much anymore. It's just when you start to move on, you start to emotionally detach. And you're in the early stages of moving on from the narcissist in a sense of that dependency. That's where they so often come back with a Hoover. And so what they do is when you're starting to move on, but you haven't fully moved on, that's usually where they will come in to try to get you back. Because that's where they feel threatened. That's where they feel that they might lose you for good. And narcissists, they don't like losing any former supply for good. That's why they like rotating the former people who they were once in relationships with. In a sense, if they discard you, they might not be in touch for a while. And if they know that you're properly devastated, they might not be in touch for even years, or at least many months. But then when they get the sense you're moving on, that's where they'll come back just asking how you're doing, maybe asking if you want to meet up, maybe pulling at your heartstrings just to kind of get you thinking about them again. And when you do that, they know that it causes you to relapse. So even if you had been well on the journey of moving on from them, you've relapsed, then you're almost back at square one. So narcissists are good at rotating their former supplies. Some people use the term harem garage, but they rotate people in a sense that even if they don't necessarily want to get back together with you once they've discarded you, they'll often kind of hoover you back into their emotional vortex just to kind of get you to relapse into wanting them again, and then they'll kind of move on. It helps them maintain that kind of moral high ground, or just the high ground. It keeps them above you, so they can kind of feel like they're better than you because they get you wanting them, whereas they decide, you know, they're just going to do their thing now, but you've relapsed. So in a way, they're winning. But yeah, it's when you go no contact and when you stay no contact, that's when the narcissist starts thinking, you know what? They haven't had the chance to hoover you. They haven't had the chance to really check up on you. They don't really know what you're up to. And that's where they start getting really uneasy. That's where they start feeling very defeated, and that's where they feel like they have to do something, like they need to take action, because it creates a lot of discomfort in them when they can't keep tabs on you and keep you from moving on, maintaining that stream of post discard supply. When they can't keep all that going for them, then they get a bit uneasy. They feel threatened. They feel like, oh shit, they might lose out on something very important for them. And if you're not making it easy for them to come back, to hoover you, to have a conversation, whatever they want to do, and then that's where they start intensely thinking about how they can do that, because at the end of the day, although they don't care about you, they do want your supply. And when you're, let's say, more out of reach, all of a sudden they think, okay, maybe you have something good going on for yourself. And they can't really have that because they're very competitive. They like to always think they're doing better than you. They can't feel like you're one-upping them. And that really, really makes them feel uneasy. So when the narcissist discards you and you go no contact and you stay no contact, that's the kind of, it doesn't take very long. You put them into that kind of mental roller coaster where they feel like they need to do something to get back into your life, just to at least know what's happening and to get you wanting them again. But if you're not giving them the space to do that, or at least not giving them the space to have enough information to convince themselves that they're still doing better than you, then you very soon start living rent free in their heads, and then they just, at some point, they feel like the rumination is so strong that they have to do something, they have to act. And that's why, and that's exactly why narcissists, they do kind of lose it mentally. They kind of just go into all kinds of strange directions in their thoughts when you do go no contact after the discard, because you're taking away their control, you're taking away their peace, you're taking away their everything that they need to feel stable. You're just showing them that maybe they're losing, maybe you're moving on, and for them that's something they can't really have. They have to always be better than you. Thanks for watching.